So for this project, we're going to be using up supplies that I already currently own in my stash. So I have this decor sign that I've been holding on to since last year from the Christmas house collection at Dollar Tree. And I suppose I could have used the backing of it, but I already went ahead and sanded off all of that glitter in the front just because, I had in mind to maybe possibly making it a two-sided decor. So now we're going to start by just removing the tags, and I'm going to untie the knots on the jute string so that we can reuse it again. So now that we loosen the knots, we can just slide that jute right on through and toss it to the side and save it for later. So what I'm going to do now is hit it with a coat of this paint on both sides so that I could have the option of possibly converting it to a double-sided sign. So here I'm taking my time hitting it with some of this paint, and this is probably not the right brush, but I don't care. I'm taking my time with it, and I'm not worried about full coverage because even if some of that brown wood shows through, it'll give it a little rustic flair. So from there, this is what you should be left with once your paint is dried on both sides of the board. And so now we could move on to the next step. And I'm showing you here that one side is a little more opaque than the other. This side you can see a little bit of the wood showing through, and that doesn't bother me in the least. So now I'm going to pick and choose a side to work on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to create my own shiplap planks, if you will, just by following the the shape of the wood itself, because it has these kind of little cutout notches. So I'm going to use that as my guiding point to draw my shiplap lines with a regular pencil. So this is how it should look once you've drawn in all your plank lines, and feel free to highlight them a little deeper with a marker or some acrylic paint, but I'm okay with them being like this because I don't want them to be too pronounced. I want it to look more natural. So then from there, I went and I pulled up an image on Google on my phone, and I freehanded it with a pencil and then traced it in with a marker. And so then after that, from there, I flipped it over and I shaded it in the back with the pencil so that I could transfer it on to my board. And I'll show you how I'm going to transfer it now just by placing it on the board and going over it with my pen. So because my image was a little larger than the board, I went ahead and trimmed it down some, and then I taped each corner with some of this painter's tape so that it wouldn't pull up any of the paint. So now that I have it all nice and centered, it's just a matter of transferring the image onto the board by intricately going over some of the lettering with my pen and the image until I completely transferred it down onto the board. So now for the moment of truth. Now that I traced my image onto the board, it's just a matter of peeling up the tape and revealing whether or not it did indeed transfer the image to the board. And so I'm just going to take off the tape and peel the paper back. Hopefully you'll be able to see on camera the way I'm seeing it in person. And there is indeed transferring. I can see it enough so that I can go over it with either a paint marker or some acrylic paint. Okay, so if I had to do it over again, I would definitely use my Cricut because I am no artist in any way, shape, or form. I hate my handwriting and I don't like the way I draw. I did use the sketch as a reference and a guidance, and I tried to, because I don't have a steady hand. My hand is very shaky and I had to be real close in order to see. So what I did was I shaded it in with this chalk paint marker, and then I used this little metallic marker too that I got from the Dollar Tree, and this is an ornament marker. And so what I did was I went over the grill and the rims and the areas where I thought would be silver or chromes, and I shaded it in, and then I also shaded it in some of the lettering so that it could pop a little bit because it was just too stark. And then I went and I took the sandpaper and I went over it with the sandpaper to tone down some of the harshness of the lines, and I really like the way that it came out. It gave it that nice rustic feel to it. So I'm liking where it's going so far. So now I have this pack of DIY sticker ornaments from the Dollar Tree, and so I have two, and I'm gonna paint one in orange and one in white. And so I don't have any orange paint, so I'm going to be mixing this yellow and this red to get a sort of a lighter shade of orange that I want on one of the pumpkins. And I'm going to paint one pumpkin orange, like I said, and one pumpkin white for my little truck. From there, now that my little pumpkins are completely dry, now it's just a matter of adhering them onto the bed of the truck. And if you notice, they have a little sticky tab on the back of each pumpkin, but for extra security purpose, I'm going to use some of this Eileen's tacky glue, and I'm just going to put a dollop right over that adhesive tabbing for more security. From there, because I want to give it that three-dimensional touch, I'm going to place the orange one down first, and then I'm going to place the Eileen's tacky glue where the other pumpkin touches. So not necessarily right smack in the middle where that tab is, like I glued the first one. I'm going to be putting it on the side where it touches the first pumpkin. This way it'll give it that 3D effect because it'll be lifted up. So now what I was doing was playing around with a few embellishments here. I haven't glued anything on yet because I felt like it looked kind of washed out and plain. There was too much black and white going on and I needed something else. So I found this pack from the Dollar Tree, and this was just in the stationery section. It's just called Elastic Book Band, and this is for like your planners, and this is what this is right here. So I just threw this little elastic banner. It's not even glued or anything, and then I had this stem left over from my spring decor florals, and so I just opted to pick off a few of the greenery. I didn't even glue it. I just tucked it in that band here, as you see, just to see how it's gonna look. And then I cut off two pieces here that I'm going to try to glue together to make kind of like a little coral reef vine type of thing, and I'm thinking to glue it right there. But if you see, nothing is even attached except for the pumpkins, but it's just basically that elastic binder band, which has this buffalo check pattern that I thought was really, really cute. And I don't even think I'm gonna glue these greenery vines. I like, kind of like the way that they just, you know, sit nice and neatly tucked in that band. I'm probably gonna leave it as such and just glue this on the top, and then all that's left to do is to reattach the twine that it originally came with. So what I did here was I put a little bit of painter's tape onto the ends and gave it a little twist so that I can easily slip it through and I won't have too much of a problem, and then I can just knot it in the back. So we're going to go ahead and attach this little twine and glue down these little embellishments, I guess you want to call them, and continue to embellish this side. So now that we got our twine all knotted and in place, we now have ourselves a cute little hanging decor sign, or if you choose to display it on a shelf. You can always set it up on an easel. So now it's just a matter of gluing that little makeshift vine that we made using that greenery. And so I glued the two ends together, and now it's just a matter of gluing it onto the board. So we're just gonna add like a little bead of glue at the top, and we're just gonna put it directly on that bead of glue and hold it in place until it sets. So as I mentioned, I'm fine with the greenery on the bottom being tucked into that band like that. It doesn't bother me, and I'm okay with the top part being glued down. So now I found this little leaf in my stash of embellishments, and I decided I'm going to glue it to the top left-hand side of this sign just to give it a little symmetry. And so all I'm going to do here is add a couple of lines of glue right on the veining of that leaf to secure it down onto the board. And that's all that's left to do to complete this project. This was a afternoon project that can be completed in a day. And the beauty of this sign is that I now have an entire clean slate on the back to create another image for the upcoming holiday as well. So feel free to recreate this project and put your spin on it. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed creating it for you. And until next time, I'll see you in my next video.